welcome to Bluestockings. Some of you are probably regulars, others might be here for the first time. If you don't know, Bluestockings is a worker-owned, volunteer-run collective. We are a bookstore, an activist center, and a fair trade cafe. So there are about 70 of us volunteers, including myself and all the nice people you see behind the counter there, who put in a lot of time and energy to build this community. So the reason we do it is that it's a really precious thing to have, especially in a city like New York. So it's really much more than a bookstore. It's a space where people come to hang out, to feel comfortable, to feel, to engage in a political project, and to come to events. We have events almost every night of the week. So if you're not already on our listserv, please sign up. And also, not only do we need 70 volunteers to keep this place going, we also really need your donations. So please give us a contribution. There's a suggested donation for $5 per person, although we never turn anybody away. And tonight we have Pluma y La Tinta, a Latina writers group. They meet twice monthly to workshop, to critique each other's work, to support each other. I'm sure you'll hear more about this from Raquel. So thank you, Raquel.
Thank you. And thank you to Bluestockings for having us again. We were here, I believe, February. We were here in February and we loved it. So. La Pluma y La Tinta is a writer's workshop that we started in Brooklyn because there was a need and we couldn't find one. And like she said, we meet twice monthly, critique each other's work, and we started putting together these readings in January. This is our 5th one. And so let's get started. Our first reader is Fikriyyah George, and she's a graduate of SUNY New Paltz with a degree in journalism. She's currently writing her first novel entitled The Eldest, the Wisest, and the Wildest, which she describes as a mesh of Sex and the City and The Witches of Eastwick, but with Black people in it. So, welcome to Black folk in it. Yes. Come on up to the mic, Raquel.
Lovely work. Hello, my name is Fikriyyah George, and this is a piece from that novel that I'm working on, and I think you're gonna like it. I hope you're gonna like it. And here we go. Some people have a path. Others wander down that path. Others speed through. Still, others are on the path and don't know it. Which one are you gonna be? My brother was a man who walked the path he felt was his own. I walk a path of my own. Only problem is these paths aren't our own like we think they are. Drug dealers, other women. These paths have been trekked by many before us, and will be trekked by others after us. Yet we believe that somehow our paths are our own. Like our ancestors, grandpappies, and mamas haven't made the same mistakes. I mean, walked the same path. On the bus, Namaste's skin quivered. She thought it was the over-air-conditioned bus, but realized it was a comfortable climate. Instead, it was the memory of her first tryst with Ali that made her body act so. He came to her apartment late at night. In the darkness of the living room, the sounds of nightlife, the belligerent speech of people in various degrees of intoxication, from sober to all-out plastered, filtered into the room. The voices echoed in varying tone and intensity. Incessant chatter punctuated by abrupt and hearty laughter. The apartment above the hullabaloo was quiet inside except for the sound of coils squeaking, furniture trembling under the heaving bodies and heavy breathing. The shape of two people entwined were barely visible. Splashes of skin, two dark bodies were illuminated by rays of streetlight let in by the semi-open blinds. His large body over mine, my legs in the air held by his hands, my skin naked except for a thin film of sweat. What he needed that night was not a sex kitten, but a simple girl who waited for him by my building door in terry cloth shorts and a cotton tee, with only a headband to overrule my wild, gangly hair. That night he wanted a simple girl to touch the scar on his face, a simple girl to open her legs so that he'll be right at home. My sheets were and still are a soft, dense, velvety material he'd never felt before. It might be because the sheets were stolen from a Ramada Inn when I was only 6 years old on a trip to Great Adventures. My mother had told me the sheets were meant to be taken, just like the small soaps and shampoos. Only sheets needed a bigger backpack to stuff it in than hotel soap the size of a thimble. The sheets were unbelievably soft. They were as soft as she was warm inside. Little women were his favorite. He loved all kinds of women, but women who didn't reach his shoulders were his favorite. They were her favorite too. Big men. Big, capable men. The kind who were able to be there for her. The bus pulled into a stop. The Wisest seemed brighter, her skin glowing. She had a notebook in her hand, jotting down ideas for her next assignment. She stared at the notebook for a couple of minutes, hoping the inspiration would just jump at her. The tall, dreaded man paid his fare and advanced to the back of the bus. Ali sat next to Namaste, who is known as the Wisest. She didn't notice him right away. Hey, she hugged him. How have you been? Good, good. And you? Things been good. A little rocky, but worth it. He didn't say anything in response. Anyways, I'm just taking a few courses at FIT. Oh, really? Yes, really. For the next few minutes, old acquaintances caught up. Halfway to their destination, that important conversation between a man and his mistress came up. I'm not leaving my wife, he said, neither loudly nor quietly. I thought so. He picked up her hand and put it in his. Gestures like these she would miss. But hey, we can still be no. No, we can't. She didn't say it vehemently. She said this calmly. Although those words were pronounced as lovely as she could muster, Ali heard the resolve in them. He looked at her one last time. The Wisest stood back, and while she was looking at him, she didn't see his face but her own. His intense stare reflected the pleasure he took in looking at her. For the first time ever, she tried to see what Ali saw. She saw her face not as she had looked at it today, but what Ali always saw. Supple lips like a shade of burgundy, sculpted supple cheekbones, neither fat nor thin. An oblong face, her eyes were the color of chocolate, the same tone as her skin, which was flawless as her eyes. And with that knowledge, she couldn't remember how she saw herself before. With that, her mind permanently emblazoned Ali's image of herself, and she took it as her own. This man who never saw her faults or never said anything about them. This man who thought she was so wonderful to preserve herself the way she did when times got tough as they always had been. He saw her creativity before she even saw it herself. He urged her to write, draw, do anything with her life except work at some mindless job. He saw better for her before she could see better for herself. But this man who truly cared for her and even might have come to love her was married. This man who made her feel so good inside and out had another woman. And although she could never figure out how they meshed as a couple, how they made love or raised their kids, the fact remained that he was married to her. He had never had an affair before. This she knew. It wasn't that she was so special, it was that they were drawn to each other. For whatever reason they were drawn to each other, it had abated. Namaste, now known to her friends as the Wisest, knew fully what both her names meant and how to practice them. She put her other hand on top of his. Look, this is over and it'll stay that way. She put her notebook away and got up. Ali didn't move. She looked at him. He angled his body towards the aisle to let her through. She did. She pressed the yellow tape on the back door. It opened. She got off the bus. She didn't know where she was in particular, but staying on the bus to go with Ali, where they had originally planned, was not an option. She looked around. There was a bodega on every corner. A couple walking a dog, a shirtless male jogger, and an old man sitting on a crate outside the nearest bodega. She walked in the direction of the bus. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew where she wasn't. Her brand new pants and improved version of her previous disaster felt good against her thighs. It took a lot of tries, but she got them exactly the way she wanted them to fit. And with that, she walked. Some people have a path. Others wander down that path. Others speed through. Still, others are on the path and don't know it. Which one are you going to be?